Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you for being here tonight in this rainy weather. We want to thank Ms. Moore for making sure that the rain was not real heavy when we got here tonight. So
Right.
that's one of the duties of our city clerk. So at this time, we'll call this meeting to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Mayor Shaw,
Here?
Deputy Mayor Diaz.
Here.
And Councilmember Tharp.
Present.
Councilmember Noble.
Here.
Councilmember Dugo and Busquet are absent tonight. Mayor, we have a quorum.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, leading the pledge tonight, we are very pleased to have a fabulous young man that will lead us in the pledge named Christian. So please stand for the pledge to the flag.
This microphone. Ready? So there's a flag right here. Let's start. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Christian, you did a great job. Thank you very, very much. And he found out about this about 5 minutes ago, so he went through the crisis mode, but he got through it and stuff, but it really was good. We do appreciate you doing that. So, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. So I'd like to recommend approval of the agenda with two minor changes. One will be a special presentation, and when we get to the consent agenda, I would like to pull the second item, the proclamation for Mr. Radcliffe. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Ms. Diaz, second by Mr. Tharp. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to comments from the public on agenda items only. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on agenda items? This is your opportunity on agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move in. Our meeting is broken up into two parts tonight. The first one is special business that we need to do, and it's a public hearing on the fiscal year 2026 budget. So at this time, I'd like to call on our city manager for the presentation. We will be dealing with two ordinances related to the 26-27 budget. Ms. McHugh.
Good evening.
I'm going to read the ordinance first. Ordinance 2025-17, first reading, establishing a taxable valuation and levying an ad valorem tax on property located within the corporate limits of Green Acres, Florida, as of the year ending December 31st, 2025, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Ms. McHugh.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening, everyone. Okay, I think everyone knows the drill. You know, there's some formalities with the adoption of the budget that I have to actually read certain things verbatim to go through. We will be doing a very brief presentation of the budget that will go with our second ordinance, which is ordinance 2025-18. So if you can bear with me, most of what I'll be reading will go with the first ordinance, and then adoption of the first ordinance, and then the second ordinance with the brief presentation. Per Florida statutes, section 200.065, it outlines the procedural steps that must be followed by each unit of local government in the preparation and approval of the governmental entity's property tax, millage, levy, and annual budget. In accordance with these regulations, the certified taxable property values as of July 1, 2025, provided by the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser, will be used to determine the ad valorem tax proceeds in the calculation of the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. Taxing authorities must hold two public hearings to adopt a millage rate and budget. This evening's hearing is the first public hearing of the City of Green Acres to adopt a tentative millage rate and a budget for fiscal year 2025-26. The tentative millage rate and the budget must be adopted in separate votes pursuant to the direction provided by the City Council at the budget meetings held on June 16th and July 21st. Staff has prepared two ordinances required by the truth in millage trim process for approval by the City Council. The ordinance to establish the taxable value and set the ad valorem rate, which is ordinance 2025-17, must be passed first, followed by the ordinance to adopt the budget, which is ordinance 2025-18. This first ordinance, 2025-17, establishes the taxable value and sets the ad valorem rate. The certified total taxable value of $3,382,129,026 provided by the property appraiser's office is $240,847,423 more than last year's certified taxable value of $3,141,281,603. The 7.67 increases in taxable value is due to an increase in property values along with an increase in new construction. The millage rate of 6.3000 mills applicable to the general fund levy for fiscal year 2026 is 7.43% greater than the calculated rollback millage rate pursuant to section 200.0651 Florida statutes of 5.8641 mills that generates the same amount of property tax revenue as last year on existing real and personal property. The property tax rate of 6.3000 mills set by ordinance 2025-17 would generate $20,455,116 of ad valorem revenue, or $1,530,146 more than the fiscal year 2025. The proposed ordinances set the total millage at 6.300 mills and appropriates $81,792,071 for the operation of the city's fiscal year 2026 budget. The first budget hearing was advertised in the preliminary tax assessment notices as required by Florida statutes 200.065. The second hearing is set to set the millage rate and adopt the final budget is scheduled for September 17, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Green Acres City Hall and was advertised in a newspaper that has local circulation in the city. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2025-17 on first reading.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, so at this time, I would like to ask if anybody wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance. Now is the time for you. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll go to the council for any questions or comments. Seeing none, entertain a motion on this item.
Motion to approve ordinance 2025-17 on first reading.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Diaz, second by Mr. Tharp. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Second item is ordinance 2025-18. Ms. McHugh.
Ordinance 2025-18, first reading, adopting an operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Thank you again. This one will be a lot shorter, and then we'll go into our brief presentation. So this second ordinance, 2025-18, adopts an operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30, 2026. The proposed budget appropriates revenues and expenditures from $58,337,694 in fiscal year 25 to $81,792,071 in fiscal year 26. So we'll go ahead and go into our brief presentation. A lot of this information you already did go over, but we did go over in prior meetings, but we'll go over again this evening. The first slide that you'll see here, really this just shows the operating millage rates going back to 2024. We have to show what the fiscal year 26 operating millage rate, or what the numbers look like based on a 6.3000 millage versus the rollback rate of 5.8641. So again, as I said, I read into the record earlier with the setting of the millage. At a 6.300 millage, we're looking at property tax revenue of $20,455,116. One thing that I do want to note, you'll see that the difference between the prior year and 2026 is $1,456,000, excuse me, 654. In the summary, you will see that the difference in the revenue is listed at $1,530,146. That variance or that difference is because we are still paying the county the ad valorem for the annexation of the plaza at Lake Worth Road and Jog Road. So we have to pay the MSTU for a certain period of time until, I believe it's a 4-year, 5-year period. Once we're done, I think we're going into the 3rd year. Once we're done with that, then we will be able to realize that full number. But as of right now, that difference shows the money that we're paying back to the county for the MSTU for that property, or those parcels there. And then you will see then the 2026 rollback, again at the 5.8641, we're showing a net change of the negative 7.43%. That would take the property tax revenue to $18,998,360, and that pretty much makes it a wash. Based on the adoption of the 6.3000 mils, we're looking at the line item above there. So that's what that slide is showing. Okay, next slide. Our next slide really is just showing the same information in a different format. One thing, just wanted to note that you'll see the budgeted purposes, the ad valorem revenue for budgeting purposes, we budget at 96%. We do not budget at the full 100%, knowing that some will not be collected. We can't go below 95% collection rate. So we are budgeting right now at a 96% collection rate for ad valorem. Next slide, that just shows where our millage has been. Based on the reduction of the millage in 2023, it has stayed the same since 2023. Okay, 2026 budget, here we are. So briefly, we did speak about this at our meeting in July, but just want to go over a little bit again. Fiscal year 2025, we're looking to end the year pretty good at 1.7 million to the good. A lot of the monies that you're seeing that we're transferring from the general fund have really been just from our conservative operations through the years, and we've allowed that to build up a little bit because we've been holding on to those funds for some big projects that we have going. But based on fiscal year 25, and this is forecasting as of July the 2nd, so we still do have a little bit of time, but we're running really well at the 1.7 million. We're showing that state revenue sharing is actually coming in higher than the estimate that was provided, so we've been pleased with that. And actually, we've received more ad valorem than expected. We usually get everything by April. But we have received some additional ad valorem, so that has helped with the numbers going into the closeout of fiscal year 25. In looking at fiscal year 26, I'm just going to point out a couple of things. You'll see that the interest income reduces. Really, that's because we're projecting a lower number because we're going to be drawing down the fund balance, so we are going to be investing less dollars. So that's why we're projecting less of interest income. But for fiscal year 23, we were at $1.3 million in interest income. So, but just because the numbers are less that we have available, that's why we're projecting a little bit lower number there. When you see the PBSO contract, you do see an increase or a percent change of 2.7 under the expenditures. It's technically 3%, but because our contract year begins February the 1st, we have 4 years of the prior year rate and then the new year rate, but technically the increase is a 3% increase. And then the other item that I wanted to note, the interfund transfers, the 10.6 million, and that's why you're seeing a negative 8.5 million. And again, we do have to have a balanced budget that we're presenting to you for adoption, but we're showing the variance as of right now. The reason you're seeing the 8.5 million there is because those are funds that we're transferring from the general fund to cover the cost for the EOC. We are doing phased budgeting for the EOC, so we're moving those dollars in phases, but that's what takes that number there. So that 10.650 is the covering of the 304 fund, which we know we normally don't have enough revenue coming into the 304 fund, which is our reconstruction and maintenance. We don't have enough money coming in there that we always have to do a transfer for that. It also is covering some of youth programs, and then it covers the cost of the general fund dollars going towards the EOC. And then the last item I just wanted to point out was other obligations, the 494,200. That is the Chapter 175, 185 pension trust obligation that the city is required to have. So that is for the police and fire pensions. So that is it for that slide. Our next slide, again, is showing the budget. It's showing our revenues. So when you look at the general fund, we're looking at total estimated revenues and financing sources of $58,517,163. Just to note, we have not received all of the state revenue estimates yet, but we had to keep moving without them. So we projected as best we can. Those numbers potentially could change, which they will cause for adjustments later on, but we went with just based on the historical numbers that we've had. So we're at the $58,517,163. Our special revenues are at $1.5 million. And again, our biggest expenses are our capital projects, primarily the 304 fund. That's at $21,744,900. That gives us a total budget of $81,792,071. And then when you go to the next slide, which is showing the expenses, again, it's pretty much everything that I showed on that slide prior to the revenues that we just had. It's just showing a little bit of a breakdown where we have our general fund of the $58 million. Again, we're breaking it down into categories, how our general fund is expended, our special revenues, capital projects based on the different funds of the $21 million. So we are presenting a balanced budget this evening of $81,792,071. And our last slide, if you have your binoculars with you or your magnifying glass with you, that is just showing our capital projects and what funds we're allocating for capital projects, but you know that we do have all the backup for you available for that. And if there's any matrices that you need to see based on what those projects are, primarily the 304 fund, there's a lot of matrices like with overlays and roadway resurfacing, things like that. We do have all of that calendared out over a 5-year period. We want to make sure we're capturing that. Same thing with fire rescue equipment. That was something, again, that was previously not captured in the budget, so we now capture those dollars so that we can allocate for them and look out for future years. So the only other thing I have is our second budget meeting is September 17th, 2025. There is, prior to your consideration of a public hearing and voting by the council, a couple things I just wanted to note, and I think it's important to note because I do think that it's something that is going to continue to come up over the next few months. I think you're going to be hearing a lot about it. We've heard a lot of conversation about property taxes and the potential elimination of property taxes at the state and what that would mean for us and what that looks like. So when you look at the slide, the second to last slide, so it would be the expenditures, the expense budget. So when you look at the slide, we talked about how much revenue we bring in from ad valorem. Ad valorem is really kind of the guarantee from taxes. Everything else, those numbers fluctuate. We don't know those, we calculate them differently, but we know taxes are the one number. So we're looking at $20.455 million. And when you look at our expenditures, public safety alone is $28 million. So we do not bring in enough ad valorem just to cover our public safety costs. So it is something that is going to be a very important conversation at the state level. And it's something that we're asking everyone to be well educated on. Nobody, we don't want to pay property taxes. You're not necessarily paying, the comments are made at times that, well, I don't technically own my home because I have to pay property taxes. You're paying for a level of service that we're providing. We're providing police, we're providing fire, we're providing events, we're providing different services that we're providing roads and all of those different amenities. So it's important to be able to understand all of those things as that conversation continues. The last thing that I just wanted to bring to your attention, to talk a little bit about the proportionate of $1 and how that $1 is broken out and what our residents pay of that $1 in municipal taxes. So in looking at $1, 32.95 cents of that $1 is paid to the city of Green Acres. 26.67 cents of that $1 is paid to Palm Beach County. 33.03 cents of that $1 is paid to the school district, and 7.35 cents of that $1 is paid to special districts. So that all of the taxes that are being paid are not coming to Palm Beach County. Only 32.95 cents of every $1 paid is coming to the city of Green Acres. So I just wanted to point that out. And we'll provide that information to you. We are going to be providing additional information to the residents to ensure that they know how their dollars are spent and that we are good stewards of their dollars. So, you know, we operate very conservatively as a city. I think we do a really good job of spending our taxpayers' dollars wisely. And we will be sure that in the next coming months that we provide that information to our residents. So that's all I have for ordinance 2025-18.
Thank you very much. This is also a public hearing, so at this time, Mr. Noble, after public hearing, I'd like to open the floor to the public. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance?